the topic of this chit-chat is not sensitive, but it may be a little bit difficult for some to swallow. However, it becomes very easy to accept and think of possible amendments and changes towards the proper solution by the will of Allah. That is, if we are honest to ourselves regarding the relationship between us and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I have no doubt that you truly are honest with yourself regarding the relationship between you, regarding the relationship between us and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Therefore, I humbly request that you make some time, watch this chit-chat to the end to get the bigger picture so that we can collectively come out with proper solution towards the ummah, inshallah ta'ala. Whether you are watching to the end or you choose to skip this video, please consider subscribing to the channel. At the end of the day, we need one another as Muslims. Now, get your cup of coffee or tea and let's do this. Bismillah. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to a new chit chat here on One Baba Salam. I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blesses the time we are going to spend together. I also pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepts this conversation as an act of ibadah, worship from each one of us. My prayers are that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes each one of us a good Muslim. Allahumma ameen. At the beginning of this chit chat, allow me to share with you some encounters I have personally experienced, and then we build on it to have a proper chit chat and also come out with proper solutions or recommendations for the benefit of the ummah. The first encounter happened at the Singapore Changi Airport when my family and I went there to spend some time. And the time came that we had to look for food. So when we went to the food court, I approached one food outlet, which I remember very well. It looked Indian, Muslim Indian cuisine kind of. So when I reached there, I didn't feel comfortable by looking around. So I approached one of the workers and asked, excuse me, sir, can I ask a question? Yes, please. Sure, he said. Are you halal certified? Because I look around, I couldn't see anything that indicates that they are halal certified. Are you halal certified? He paused for a while and said, well, we are now in the process of obtaining halal certification. Meanwhile, this outlet has been patronized by Muslims dining in. So I asked him, now that you are in the process of obtaining your halal certification, what happens if it returns unsuccessful? What you have been serving now, is it considered halal or not halal? He didn't have the answer for that question. So I left him and moved on to look for another food outlet. The second encounter happened in Subanjaya here in Malaysia when I went to one of the big shopping malls and was looking for a halal food outlet. Well, all the fast food outlets are there. Talk about McDonald's, talk about KFC, talk about Burger King, they are all there. But that was not what I was looking for. So I continued to search until I came across one food outlet, mainly beverages and some drinks. So I looked around, I noticed that they had all certifications hanging up on the wall from all government agencies, from all relevant agencies, but I couldn't see halal certification. So I approached one of the workers. Excuse me, sir, can I ask a question? Yes, sure, why not? Are you halal certified? He looked at me and said, no, we are not halal certified, but all our workers are Muslims. So I said, oh, all right, thank you so much. And then I left and went out of that shopping mall to look for food elsewhere. The third encounter happened in City Alam, one of the big shopping malls. My wife and I, we were looking for food outlet. So we came across one, and when we look around, we couldn't see anything that indicates that they are halal certified, other than the fact that there was one or two Muslim workers inside there. So I approached one of the workers. Excuse me, can I ask a question? Yes, sure. Are you halal certified? She was very confident. Yes, we are halal certified. Can you please prove that? She took out a very big file and then turned to the pages and showed me one documentation which somehow shows some, if I'm not wrong, something from one of the halals, but it is outdated. It is outdated. So I asked her, how do you justify this? Of course, she couldn't justify that. So we left that and looked for another food outlet. The fourth encounter also happened in Seti Alam, the same shopping mall with a different food outlet. I observed. That time I was alone. I observed there is one food outlet which looked Korean in nature. MashaAllah, it was patronized by many Muslims I could see. So I looked around if I could see anything that indicates that they are halal certified. I couldn't see any. So I approached one of the workers. Excuse me, can I ask you a question? Yes, sure, please. Are you halal certified? Confidently. She didn't even have to think twice. Confidently, no, we are not halal certified, but we get all our supplies from halal certified suppliers. And I was like, okay, all right, thank you so much. These encounters are 4 out of many encounters pertaining to my search for halal outlets whenever I go out to look for food. This is besides the many outlets where they will put up notices and write-ups or signs of no pork, no lard, or it is pork free. Sadly, you see that it is being patronized by Muslims. No one takes the trouble to ask and verify anything at all. Well, what does this mean? Upon reflecting on all these encounters, you will agree with me that all the food outlets I have mentioned and many others, they will put in the effort to obtain all relevant certifications and licenses from the relevant agencies whatsoever, with exception of one, that is halal certification. If this means anything at all, it means that they care less about the concern of the Muslim consumer. As simple as that. And I do not blame them. I do not blame them. Why will they put in, take the trouble to ensure that they have all certifications, and some will show you big files with all documentations, some will put them up, but when you look for halal, you hardly find anything at all. They are not to be blamed. As much as these outlets care less to ensure that they obtain relevant halal certifications, our Muslim diners, our Muslim brothers and sisters also care less to take the trouble to ask, to seek clarification, to make sure that the outlet they are going in to dine are halal certified. Not only they are halal certified, they have to show something that shows that they feed the people something halal. So if we care less, they also should not care at all. After all, what they want is your money, and they have been getting your money. How should the Muslim look at halal food when we talk about halal, eating halal and halal food? It is important for the Muslim not to only look at halal as or something that fulfills the requirements of halal and whatnot. Look at halal food the way you look at poison. Who is that who will use his money to go and buy poison to consume? Who is that who will see unhygienic food and use his money to go and buy that unhygienic? When it is reported that a rat is seen in one food outlet, unless they have very strong marketing strategy, they will close shop as a result of that, to clean and to clear up their image. Just a single rat, if it is seen and posted in social media regarding regarding a food outlet, that is with regards to hygiene. All right, when you see cockroach in a puff or in a cake, how do we react to all that? So look at halal food the way we look at foods that could also be that way: poison, unhygienic, unhealthy, and what have you. Above all that, look at halal food as it's part of ibadah, it's part of cooking your own nasi lemak. What is cooking your own nasi lemak? check this video to find out how and what is it to cook our own nasi lemak. So look at the need for ensuring we eat halal food the way we look at avoiding consuming poison. Look at the need for eating and ensuring eating halal food the way we will look at avoiding unhygienic food. Look at the need for eating and ensuring we eat halal food the way we will look at how we come across food, any food that could cause us harm, could cause cancer to us, could cause us food poisoning. And above all this, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has clearly prescribed for us what to eat and what not to eat, especially when it comes to halal and haram with regards to food. So once this is clear, it makes more sense for the Muslim why halal food is very important for the Muslim and also for his loved ones. Islam is based on halal and haram. Al-halalu bayin wal-haramu bayin. And the food we consume is only one portion or angle out of many angles in this life where halal and haram matters are to be discussed and to be highlighted accordingly. And Islam addresses all important aspects of our life. And anything that Islam gives attention is important regardless of how small it seems to our human eyes. Who can argue or can say that food is not important in human life? Having said all that, halal food is not only halal food as per se with certifications on them and whatnot. Halal food has some basic requirements to meet. The most outstanding two basic requirements is ownership. One must own the halal food before he can consume it. That is number one. Number two, one must ensure that it meets the requirement of permissibility. So ownership is one thing, permissibility is another thing. In addition to all that is to ensure that the income from which we are buying and owning this food, this permissible food, the income comes from permissible sources as well. The income comes from halal sources as well. And when we talk about the income coming from halal sources, we're not talking about only working and making money, therefore it becomes halal automatically. No, the condition of the work must be halal on its own. The nature of the work must also be halal. What is it that I am doing must also be halal. Therefore, the income that comes from that becomes halal in itself, and then we must ensure that we use that to buy halal food for ourselves as well as for our loved ones. In addition to that, when one has earned his income from halal sources and bought something that he perceived as halal, then he owns it and it fulfills permissibility. Islam mentions something that is very important. That is, the food we consume must be wholesome. Tayyiban. So the Quran or Islam will always ensure that when it mentions eating halal, it adds wholesomeness to it. Ya ayyuhan nas. Even here the statement is directed to all mankind. Ya ayyuhan nas, kulu mimma fil ardi halalan tayyiba. O mankind, eat what is on the earth, halalan, out of halal, and also tayyiban, wholesome. So just because it is halal, yet it is not wholesome, that means something else is missing. Wholesomeness. So your food must have nutritional value. Your food must help the growth in your body. Your food should not cause harm to you. Your food should not cause sickness to you knowingly. Kulu mimma fil ardi halalan tayyiba. Ya ayyuhal ladhina amanu kulu min tayyibati ma razaqnakum. 3-4 verses after the previous one, Allah mentions, "Oh, you believers, kulu min tayyibati ma razaqnakum." Eat from the wholesome, from the good, from the wholesome of what we have provided for you. And then in Surah Al-Mu'minun, Allah says, Ya ayyuhar rusul, O messengers, kulu minat tayyibat. Eat from the wholesome, eat from the good. Eat from the halal. It must be halal in order for it to be wholesome. Otherwise, it is not wholesome. So if something does not fulfill the halal requirements, it doesn't become wholesome, even if it is justified as halal. It is easy for anyone to put blame on those food outlets outside there. But time and again, I do not blame them at all, because innamal a'malu binniyat. Food outlets are not charity organizations. They are commercials, they are businesses. Their main focus, their main objective is to make money. As long as they will have customers, they can even sell you poison, unless they fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, unless they fear God. So if God is not in the equation for them, why will they care? So ensuring halal is not their responsibility as much as it is our responsibility. Even if there are no government agencies, there are no regulations to regulate that, as far as Muslims are concerned, it is our responsibility. So if we don't care, if we are not bothered to check and make sure that what we use our hard-earned money, halal money, to buy is halal, why will anyone care at all? Why will anyone care to sell us halal? Unless they happen to fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then they will make sure that they will sell you something that is halal, that pleases Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What the law makes legal doesn't necessarily becomes halal, and what the law makes illegal doesn't necessarily becomes haram. So halal is what Allah and His Messenger makes halal, and haram is what Allah and His Messenger makes haram. Otherwise, the law does not prohibit wine. Is wine halal? The law does not prohibit cigarettes. Is cigarettes halal? The answer is, as we all know. So our hard-earned halal money does not deserve to be spent in consuming non-wholesome food into this body that its main objective on this earth is to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if we don't care to take care of that, we have no one to blame, and we have no right to blame others for not caring what they sell us. And what makes it even worse is when we get involved in selling non-wholesome nutrition to others and make money out of that, assuming that it is going to be halal for us. So if anyone is to sell anything, he should make sure that it has value. It adds value to whoever is going to buy it, to whoever is going to consume it, even if it looks halal. Now the question is, does halal certification suffice and will eliminate the problem? Not necessarily. When we talk about halal, look at this. This is plain water. If you look here, you will see that it is halal. It has halal certification. It has halal certification. I hope it captures it. All right, is it here? Yeah. It has halal certification, and this is just plain water. This is another one. If you look here, it has halal certification. I hope it captures it. All right, so it has halal certification. This is mineral water, plain water. By right from the stream, it is drinkable. But why does it need halal? Well, if this, which by right they don't need halal certification, they put in the effort to provide halal certification, what more of consumable stuff which comprises blood, comprises meat, comprises many other ingredients? What more about that? So if this will have halal certification, then anything else by right needs to have halal certification. This is where our responsibility stops. So if anything happens, I will have excuse before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. At least I have looked for something that, to my best knowledge, it was halal. Other than that, what will be my excuse? Oh, I saw some Muslims patronizing it. I saw some Muslims dining in that shop. Therefore, I also jump in, hop in, and had. This is not an excuse. We talk about being honest to ourselves with regards to the relationship between us and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So what I will say to you to justify, or what you will say to me to justify, means nothing. But what I will say to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as my excuse is what matters. What you will say to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to justify is what matters. So I don't need to justify to you. You don't need to justify to me. But I must prepare my answers to present before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You must prepare your answers to present before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Does halal certification solve the problem? It doesn't necessarily have to solve the problem, but it definitely eliminates a lot. Rules, regulations, laws are there in place, but do they finish all the problems of mankind? No, we still have problems, but their existence help to curb those problems, to cut them off, or to eliminate them, but not fully eliminate them. Just imagine with rules and regulations in place, yet we still have all the problems we see today. What more if there was none at all? Halal certification helps a lot. Halal certification helps a lot. Imagine with halal certification, we still get cheated with regards to the type of meat we are provided with. Sometimes we are provided with non-properly halal slaughtered with halal certification. Sometimes we are given different meat with halal certification. In some countries, they are sold donkey meat as beef. In some countries, they sell them pork as beef, and it is not. So with halal certification in place, we still get cheated. What makes us that where people take it for granted that we, the Muslim consumers, we care less. We don't even bother to check. We don't even bother to be responsible. We don't even bother to show mindfulness towards what we eat. Why will they be bothered to show, to be honest, and to be responsible and to protect their credibility? In the end of this chit chat, I would like to remind myself, and mashallah, if you have watched to this point, that this chit chat is not about just eating halal. This chit chat is rather about reminding myself and reminding your kind self to not stop pretending that all food outlets out there are halal certified. They are not. Some are halal certified, yes, but not all are halal certified. Even if they are owned by Muslims, what more when they are owned by non-Muslims? Having Muslim workers in a food outlet does not qualify it to be halal certified. And having applied for halal certification and pending the approval of the certification does not qualify it to be halal certified. And even I will encourage that even for Muslim owners to also apply for halal certification. This will give them the sense of responsibility to be mindful of what they provide for the people. And that is why when someone tells you we have Muslim workers, therefore it is halal. Today you have Muslim workers because they are cheap laborers. Tomorrow, if you come across cheaper laborers, you will hire the cheaper laborers and let go of the Muslim workers. These cheaper laborers, people already become familiar with your outlet as being halal because you had Muslim workers. Will the non-Muslims know what halal is about? And will they care at all? All this, we are not talking about eating from someone who will cook your food and will be able to say Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. A Muslim who will cook your food and say Bismillah, his food should be preferable over a Muslim who will not say Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. What more from someone who is not Muslim? And maybe I should mention that Islam permits the Muslim men to marry non-Muslim Christians as well as Jews. Those who we are permitted and allowed to marry, they are the ones we are permitted and allowed to eat their food. The same verse that allows us to marry Jews and Christian women is the same verse that allowed us to eat their food. We are not allowed to marry any other non-Muslim who is not Christian nor Jew. Therefore, we are not allowed to eat the food of any non-Muslim who is not Muslim, who is not Jew or Christian. Now, with halal certifications, there have been some flexibility, or if they fulfill some requirements, even if they are not Jews and not Christians, well, we can consume their food. So when we submit to that and we eat from food prepared by non-Muslims who are not Jews nor Christians, and yet all this is happening, what do we think we are eating? Remember how we have to consider the food we eat. Look at it as a poison. Look at it as how you look at unhygienic food. Look at it at how you will look at food that is going to cause cancer and food poisoning. Above all that, look at it at the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has a say in it. And our relationship with Allah is our matters that we should not compromise. Another important thing while we are closing is, if we care less, we are less mindful, not mindful of the food we allow into our stomach, and the process that takes in our stomach is core in determining our behavior, in determining our mood, in determining our health, in determining our relationship. If we care less about that and we don't mind what we just put into our tummy, what makes us believe that we are actually mindful of other things, our relationships? What makes us think that we are mindful of our prayer? What makes us think that we are mindful of our clothing? Our clothing. What makes us think that we are mindful of what we apply on our body? I'm talking about makeups now. The moment we care less of what we eat, then the possibility of our carelessness in any other part is very high. Let's be honest. And we have to be honest with ourselves, and we have to put Allah in the equation. I don't have to justify to you, you don't have to justify to me, but we cannot hide or run away from the fact that we are going to explain to Him subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, eating halal and wholesome together serve as the second dimension of what I call the fourth element, which I have covered in this video up there, link provided in the description below. When we are mindful of the fourth element, in addition to other things, we are able to help ourselves to enhance our journey back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and to cook our own nasi lemak in a way that, or in the way that pleases Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and also grant us acceptance with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now back to the question. Is it halal? Maybe. Is it tayyiban, wholesome? Most likely not. Who is responsible for that? Whose responsibility is that in the event it is not wholesome, nor is it halal? Whose responsibility is that? I leave that question for you to answer. Please do answer them in the comments below and let the conversation continue. With that, we have come to the end of this chit chat. Until our next, I leave you in Allah's protection. See you, and see you in Jannah. والسلام عليكم.
أتيتك يا خالقي باكيا ودمع الأسى كل حين يزيد، فقد قلت في الآي لا تقنطوا، وإن تعف عني فذا يوم عيد، وإن تعف عني فذا يوم عيد.